Ethan Page again brutalized young Darby Allin. Oh my goodness! Page has treated Allin like he was a fly who's beneath him. Face first into the wall. And Allin has been busted open.
Stop it now.
Allin's got a trash can. He just jumped off the balcony. Allin taking that trash can back with him to the ring. Page asking for mercy and getting none.
So cool.
Allin to the top of the ladder. No.
Oh.
It's over.
The winner of the match, Darby Allin.
No matter what you think of professional wrestling, on a pure physicality level, if you aren't taken aback by what we just saw, I don't know what's going to take you.
I don't think, you think maybe I'd be internally bleeding?
Right.
We don't know.
Okay.
Professional wrestling is experiencing a global renaissance. Brought on by a cross-pollination of styles, it has its own language, each style a different dialect. As a lifelong wrestling fan, I've always felt there's more to wrestling than just choreographed violence. At the core of every wrestler, there is a storyteller. Every ring is staged to reflect the struggles of its audience, whether it be gender, sexuality, race, religion, or class. A theater for the masses that gives us the heroes and villains we need. From the skyscrapers of Japan to the alleyways of the Congo, we're going to meet some of the most influential figures in the sport and examine their global impact. In a world where the President of the United States is in a Wrestling Hall of Fame and global politics increasingly resemble theater, it's impossible to ignore wrestling's place in our society. Wrestling has always had a complicated relationship with the truth. For decades, bookers tried to maintain that the matches were not fixed. It wasn't until the 1980s, after a slew of investigative reports, that it became widely known that the winners and losers were predetermined. For non-fans, it's proven difficult for wrestling to shake the moniker of fake. But to dismiss wrestling as a fake sport is to misread it completely. To understand why, I'm taking you to one of the best bookers in the world, Gabe Sapolsky. His promotion Evolve is widely considered the top indie wrestling company in America, and he's agreed to show us exactly what happens behind the curtain.
Gabe Sapolsky, I was like, I gotta meet this guy.
He's the top promoter on the indies. Getting on Evolve set up the rest of my career.
As a promoter, he knows what he's looking for. He has a vision.
Gabe understands what I want to achieve.
That's the guy that you want to impress. If you don't know who Gabe Sapolsky is, when we're talking about wrestling, you just don't know what you're really doing. He's just the guy.
Special Treat Friday, right, Jack?
Yeah.
If we eat well during the week and really don't have any treats, or maybe just one, and we work hard all week, we get to go for a special treat on Friday, right, Jack?
Yeah.
All right, so I have a lot of work to do this weekend, okay? All right, but then I'll be back Monday to pick you up from school. The big question, as always, is pro wrestling fake? The drama and the physicality of it is not fake at all.
The way people would describe wrestling forever, for years, would be, it's a fake sport. It's not real. I don't think that they've ever seen an actual wrestler, because there's nothing fake about what they do. And it's very hard to explain to them that that isn't the case. You either get it or you don't.
Whoa.
It kind of shakes you, right?
It's kind of hypnotizing, eh? Looking around, Gabe, there's not a lot of wrestling ephemera in here. Is there any?
The Dragon Gate USA title belt. It's symbolic to me because I was done. I was dead in the industry, and that belt signifies the comeback. The original merchandising contract we had with Sabu. So if it wasn't for this contract right here, none of this would have happened.
And then you, of course, have the picture of the godfather of hardcore wrestling.
Yes, I have that Terry Funk plaque. Terry Funk, of course, was like the beginning of everything, too, with ECW. September 93 is my first year, so we're talking, moving on 24 years now. I appreciate the fact that I've been able to do this for so long, and also I realize the fact that the next show can be my last show. Like, that's how quickly it ends. When I was booker for Ring of Honor, it was my life 24/7. Every minute of every day was spent thinking about it, and it was very unhealthy.
A lot of people in the business become so immersed that they kind of lose themselves in it. There was a couple of years where he was on the road like every weekend. Having that routine, it definitely has brought a balance to him for sure.
I just don't want to be a person that's having somebody else raise their kid. Once he stops holding your hand walking home from school, he is never holding your hand again. Wrestling's giving me this luxury to raise my kid. I try to do the logistics and the promotional stuff during the day. Most of the writing I do takes place after midnight. I can be up till 4, 5, and 6 in the morning writing wrestling storylines.
Wrestling is a thing that goes up and down. It might be very high, very popular right now, but in 2 years it can hit bottom, and that's not his fault or anyone's fault. So we know that he's made his mark in wrestling, but it's not something that we expect to go on steadily.
A professional wrestling booker is a dying breed these days. I could have gotten a 9-to-5 job. Maybe I'd be better off now if I did.
Oh, I mean, ultimately it's his decision. And I've always told him that throughout the whole time we've been together. It's your decision. That's your career path, whatever it may be. I'll support you. At the same time, I know how much he loves it.
Much like in boxing, a booker in wrestling is the matchmaker, and they also decide which match happens when to maximize the audience's reaction. But unlike boxing, the booker decides who wins and who loses. In wrestling, the booker becomes like a stage director of an athletic improv troupe.
I would, I'm going to change this. I would hit the double team finish on Fred, okay? Maybe you dump him out of the ring, you turn to Harper.
But then how's Harper going to be legal?
What's that?
How's Harper going to be legal?
You guys figure that out.
It's unfigure-outable.
No, it's not. Everything is figure-outable.
All right.
That's your job.
All right.
All right.
Exposing the business, 101.
A big part of being a booker is being able to manage the big picture. You're dealing with maybe about 20 talents, 30 talents. Wrestlers look at things from a perspective of just themselves because they're focused on their careers. A part of that is getting the talent to understand the big picture.
Can I go out and sell merch after my match?
If you're out at the merch table while the matches are in the ring, all the focus of the fan should be on the ring. Yeah, and you don't want a fan thinking, oh, well, this match, I got another option. I can go hang out with Matt Riddle at the merch table. You know what I mean? It's disrespectful to the guys in the ring. That's the old school mentality. All right, cool. Thank you. Everyone has different talents in life. I can't fix a cabinet, but somehow I'm able to write these storylines and recognize his quality in wrestlers. Same way with each of these wrestlers. They all have a different skill set. Take a guy like Darby Allin. I recognize that this is a guy who wants to create. Are you doing anything I need to know about?
2 years into his wrestling career and 1 year after walking into an Evolve Open tryout, Darby Allin has had a very quick ascent.
It's Darby Allin!
Still in his early 20s, he has achieved what takes other wrestlers years to accomplish, moving quickly up the Evolve card in increasingly bloody matches.
Get rid of that towel.
I don't think he may be internally bleeding.
I don't need your dry ass shit!
will get one. The executioner will get one of them.
Two of the boys from Atlanta are playing in a game of who can board slide this rail over here first, and the loser gets maced.
Okay, why?
Life's kind of boring at times, and you gotta spice things up.
I'd say there's a lot more on the board. Nice, over. Someone gets You're gonna break your board.
Keep it close, I guess.
Okay. Biggest thing that's exciting about pain is when you videotape it and you remember it and you can hold on to that forever. This was my face after I got first grade years ago, 2013.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I couldn't even see.
Hey, we have to now get the rag. Don't open your eyes. This rag looks like there's like.
This is why we need community centers and art spaces in suburbia. What do you say to this older mentality that looks at wrestling today as being too dangerous, like there's too many risks?
At the end of the day, like, people are gonna do what they want. There's a lot of times people like love wrestling and then they're out there doing wrestling and it just looks like they're playing a wrestler. But I come from a standpoint where I don't get inspired from that wrestling too much.
So where do you find inspiration from if it's not just in the ring?
There's a whole world out there. So that's why I try not to just like recycle into the wrestling world what's already been done. If I watched everything from the 80s and I try to recycle it and give it to the 2000s, it'd feel like pro wrestling. I like to show people pain, because that's like a daily thing people experience. I'm not out there to try to like have my wrestling be some type of utopia where it's some fake thing. Take the real life situations and put it in that squared circle. That's what pro wrestling is to me, at least, It's what I try to convey and create.
He told me what's important to him is storytelling and drama. This guy has a different way of thinking than everybody else.
I think there's a lot of symbolism why I picked those two names, Darby Crash and G.G. Allen. They were known around the world for just being themselves, and in a way it's ironic because I'm straight edge and those two died of drug overdoses.
He's willing to drop everything in Seattle and drive to Florida to live there so he can hop in a van and drive hours and hours and hours to all of our shows. This is a guy who wants it.
It's amazing how much stuff you have to juggle to make this come off. Like, obviously, you've got partners.
It's like 4 hours a day, though. I'm good at delegating. That's, like that's, you get people you trust and you delegate stuff to them.
Yeah, but even with the delegation, you haven't stopped moving once.
Darby, did you get everything under the ring? Priscilla, make sure you stay dead, okay? Larry Dallas! Zack Sabre! Keith Lee, please. Larry! Trevin! Larry Dallas! Drew Galloway. Hey, Drew Galloway, where do you want the sledgehammer? I'll probably open in like 10 minutes. Yo, 5 minutes, guys, 5 minutes. So this is gonna be the, all right, so just be, I'm thinking.
And an immense amount of respect on display by the fans here in Queens and New York for Austin Theory.
Traditionally, the booker stands behind the curtain in the gorilla position, the point just before the wrestler enters and returns from the arena. It's here that Gabe will impart any last-minute bits of wisdom, encouragement, or changes to the script, and the vantage point from which he will read the room. Gabe has invited me to stand with him on this tour, a very rare opportunity for an outsider to catch the inner workings of a match.
I try to be here every match. When they come through the curtains, give them a handshake and thank them. Yeah. And I mean, they're risking their bodies in the ring for you.
He's the man.
Well, it's like a huge sign of respect for the.
It's a sign of respect for what they did, yeah.
The history between Darby Allin and Ethan Page goes back over a year. Who knows what damage these two men could do to each other?
You know both guys are really gonna put a lot physically on the line in this match, and I trust them in knowing their limits. But you still have those butterflies because the risk is increased.
Ever since Ethan Page beat the hell out of Darby Allin moments into his Evolve debut, the two have been locked in a nasty feud. In a year of matches that have been punctuated with brutal violence, the two have found themselves the talk of the wrestling world and the main event on the Evolve card.
This could be a feud that people will look back at for years with the proper close. You have to have that finale.
It's the match card for tonight. Thinking of all the stuff we have to compete against. The last match we had, you either gotta top it or you gotta compete with it. You can't go any lower. So it's time to rock and roll.
From Seattle, Washington, Darby Allin. And his opponent, All Ego, Ethan Page.
The anticipation for the match will be high, so we don't really have to do much.
I can do like a suicide dive, like if your back's against the guardrail.
Beautiful elevation and a suicide dive.
And then I'll get on the top rope, diving headbutt.
Darby Allin at the behest of Ethan Page, and is he gonna throw himself? My God, a flying headbutt.
You get the shovel and then you come in. You go swing it. The chaos is the stuff that's an accident. The one thing I turned my back on and I wasn't paying attention to is the one that got me. It just clipped me in the elbow. Before I knew it, there's blood and the muscles showing and everything like that. But I was so in the sense of not letting go of any opportunity. Telling the referee, he's like, we gotta end it. I was like, no, you're not gonna end this. I worked too hard for this. I put in too much time in a year, and I told too hard of a story to have you end it in the sense of just a shovel cutting me open and fracturing my arm. We're gonna finish this match.
He's gonna fill that body bag with thumbtacks.
So I was real hesitant about the thumbtack idea, but I trusted them. I don't know how he's going to get out of this. But I think he's okay.
Oh no.
Powerbomb! Darby Allin, he has not let go of that arm in quite some time. I don't know if Ethan Page has broken Darby's arm. Oh, thank God it's over.
You all right?
Darby's
Darby's up.
He sliced his arm over.
On what? What happened, man? You all right?
Elbow got sliced open with a shovel.
Oh, shit. All right, let's get him to the back. Buddha! Do you know where the doctor is? Is he still here? We got paramedics and a doctor.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's totally cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit happens, you know what I mean?
Go to an hospital.
You gotta get stitches.
Can someone drive me there then?
You have an ambulance, so we'll take you.
I don't want to take an ambulance though. Let me just have someone drive me.
All right.
That's between you and...
Yeah, I just don't want to pay for no ambulance. It's kind of hard to protect yourself when a shovel's coming.
Yeah, I know.
Darby goes to the hospital for surgery. He won't be wrestling the next day and is looking at 2 to 3 months before he'll be back in the ring. Since the beginning, wrestlers have traveled long distances between matches. The Evolve crew is no different. They think nothing of logging thousands of miles in a single weekend, or driving for 24 hours straight. It's a claustrophobic journey broken up by the occasional gas station sandwich spot or pancake joint.
Well, now we've been in the car for I don't know how many hours. My butt is so numb. Like it's like just humming. So Austin, how many times a day do you eat normally?
Usually 6 meals a day.
6 meals a day.
I eat every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours you're
Every
gonna
2
eat
hours.
a protein heavy meal.
Exactly.
So when you're on the road though, there must be temptation to eat junk, right?
Yeah.
Like every time you stop at those gas stations and things like that?
It's not really a temptation because I do it, you know?
So, yeah.
I train so much that I can eat this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all day I work out. That's why I look like this. And then I eat every 2 hours.
So you identify as being straight edge, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's like no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes, none of that stuff.
Nothing.
I imagine in the sport of bodybuilding and even pro wrestling, like, you know, you hear about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Performance-enhancing drugs are a reality.
Uh-huh.
And people use these drugs, but you're straight edge.
Yeah, it's something I've heard since I was in high school. You know, if somebody sees like a little muscle on you, it's like, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. But no, man, I don't even have the money for that.
Well, now we're gonna have some turkey, right?
This is gonna be good. And you know what's crazy? I eat a lot of tilapia.
Yeah.
But I hate fish. But I eat it because it makes my arm look like this. So.
That's probably why mine look like this.
Because you don't eat fish.
I don't eat fish.
Austin Theory is a pro wrestling prodigy. Austin has been streamed for Wrestling Stardom for over half his life. He drives an hour and a half every day to practice at World Wrestling Alliance, located behind a strip club in West Atlanta. At the age of 19, he stands fully equipped to take over the wrestling industry.
Look, check it out. My hand's acting like my foot, okay? I'm gonna raise it up, and I'm gonna plant it there. I'm just gonna put it there. And the main thing is all this, too. This whole presence, this whole, you know what I mean, acting, this whole, the face, everything. So if I'm going, you know, no, don't shy away from it. So I'm just doing that.
Yeah.
Come on, you got it.
Okay.
Damn it.
Are you worried about this, man? I mean, cause
I think that's
pretty much.
Actually, the whole thing. All right, look, let me put it like this. Yeah. If it was real, it'd be easy, right? Kick this person in the gut.
Yeah.
You're doing that, but just not for real.
A.R. Fox is one of the most influential independent wrestlers of his generation. His fearless style has inspired many fan and wrestler alike.
The first time I met Austin, I didn't know what to expect, you know, and then he started wrestling and stuff, and I could just tell this kid gets it. I'm like, I'm gonna put a little extra work in this kid, and I'm gonna push him, and I'm also gonna like give him a few snug shots to see if he comes back the next day. And that's gonna see how bad you want it. Some guys still are like trying to get on Evolve that I know that have been wrestling for 8 years. Me and Gabe actually had a small falling out. Once Austin started doing real good, I just swallowed my pride and I wrote him on Facebook and I said, can I call you?
A.R. Fox said, hey, I got this student, Austin Theory. He's gonna be a star. What got me with Austin Theory was his facial expressions. And the facial expressions, most guys don't get till 3 to 5 years down the line. Some guys, 10 years.
Austin Theory almost going right through the mat there.
The fact that he was able to have these kind of instincts at his experience level and age. If this was sports or baseball, this is a 5-tool player and a natural professional wrestler. We immediately signed him. We signed him the next day.
Wrestling is everything to me. It's what I've known since I was 8 years old. I just was so drawn to it. It was like real life superheroes. My first show, I remember going with my grandfather. I remember a guy coming out and being real scary to me. And I was not knowing if I wanted to be there or not. And then the next guy comes out and he's like the hero. And I was like, wait, I want to see this. After that night, I was completely hooked. My mom had me doing baseball and basketball. But once I seen wrestling at 8, I was done with that. Like I knew, like, this is all I care about.
The way he is, he's driven, and he don't want to be held down. And when he sees something he wants, he goes for it. And he will give up anything to get it. I can go out of town and I could leave alcohol, here, and I don't have to worry about it. The only thing that's gonna be missing is protein.
I think I was 12 years old. I told my mom, I was like, can I start going to the gym? But I wasn't old enough to like work out, but I'd sneak in. I just know getting on that main stage, there's no way you're getting there without hard work.
Most intimate thing I've ever seen in the ring. I felt like it was a private match just for me.
My parents, I think they split before I was born. My dad, there'd be times where we'd be in a store and he'd steal stuff. I want to say I was 15 years old and I was in the car with him. I had got like my learner's permit so I could drive now. We were riding and he was telling me some story, but he just kind of starts like dazing off. He basically was geeking out from like a reaction from some type of drug. That moment really stuck with me.
Straight over.
It brought me to the point of being straight edge. Never in my life have I had alcohol or smoked or done any type of drug.
It's amazing watching him interact with his two younger brothers.
To me, Austin's a role model for all of his siblings. And with his brothers, they both look up to him.
I just want them to always be good and not go through kind of what I went through.
And they just think he's cool because he's a wrestler and they have t-shirts that's got him on it.
One day I'll have kids and I want to be somewhere where they have nothing to worry about. Before I go out to the ring, I definitely get nervous. I'm a freaking train wreck. I love what I do so much that I know when I go out there, I want to give them everything I got. I want them to see Austin Theory.
Oh my. Yeah. I've been on my fast all day too, so yes.
Yeah, me too. I haven't eaten anything all day.
All right, pudding pie, go ahead. No!
Pudding pie? That's the name for the ring, dude! Pudding pie! Pudding pie, yay high! Pudding pie, yay high! Pudding pie, yay high!
Without the size that fast-tracks someone for success in wrestling, Fred Yehi has had to fight for every opportunity. But Fred's ability to make the most of each and every match and an undeniable charisma have helped him kick down the door to some of wrestling's biggest indies.
Fred's a guy who has done my favorite thing, which is improve every aspect of his game.
He's very impressive and he brings it in the ring like no other. Because I wrestled him and it's a rough time.
Fred would destroy me in the ring. He's really good at technical wrestling.
His biggest challenge is his height. He's not a super tall guy. There's guys who are his height that have become stars on national TV, but it's not a strength of his. He has taken that and made it part of his persona, made it part of his moveset. Something as small as hitting the ropes, which is when the guys run into the ropes and bounce off of them. If you notice, Fred does this off the second rope. He's the only guy that does this off the second rope.
Bouncing off the second rope. So unique the way he comes out. You see that tackle?
His wrestling style, stomping on the hands.
I was waiting for it there and on the hand.
They all bring his opponent down in size. So he took what was a weakness of his height, and he made it into a strength.
Stomp on the foot.
I mean, that's smart.
Wrestling in the South, it's really tough. The crowd is pretty much like an all-white crowd, country crowd. 60% of the crowd is grossly obese. They're gonna identify me with the 350-pound, bare belly, out of shape guy who comes out in the cowboy hat. He's the guy they're gonna put in the main event. He's the guy they wanna put on the posters. I wouldn't say they're like any like African American companies per se. There's a decent amount of us who wrestle here in Georgia. And then yeah, we all go through that same struggle, like we all do.
You met this dude training. Let's bring you back to that moment. Do you remember the first time you saw Pudding Pie?
When I first saw him wrestle, there was this girl who was just flipping out, just like, oh my God, ah, Fred! And I was like, it's whatever, I don't see the height. I was like, I don't even think he's that cute. And this is literally what I said. That's literally what I said. My trainer's like, okay, we're gonna do drop down drills, which is, you know, the person lays down, you jump over him, jump over him. So I hit the drop down and I can't get back up in time. What does this guy do? What do you do, Fred? He keeps going straight on my ribs. I flip over on my back. I'm like, oh my God. I love to tell people to embarrass him.
Dating in pro wrestling, it has its pros and it has its cons. We're both in this business, so we have to be really understanding. There has to be trust.
What's it like being in a relationship when both of you are on the road?
It's honestly really hard. I'm not even gonna lie.
Thank you. Thank you.
What motivates you to get in the band and do this weekend after weekend?
I remember being kind of stuck in Georgia, doing like these rink-a-dink backwoods shows with like maybe 20 to 50 people. The pay was dirt, 30 to 50 bucks maybe. Half of that money, if not all of it, is going back into the tank. I appreciate that we have a van. We don't have to worry about gas. We don't have to worry about food. All that stuff is covered. And taking all that in consideration, shoot, I'll stay crammed up in the van, and deal with it. So,
I don't know if you ever heard that quote where it's like, if you're the hardest worker in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
As long as I'm a wrestler, I don't think I'm ever gonna arrive because I'm not gonna. I won't allow myself to get comfortable. I won't allow myself to believe that I just know it all, that I'm there. There's always someone working harder. Shoot, like when Austin, when he got his contract, it was like, man, that's freaking awesome. It's like, I don't want him to catch me, you know what I'm saying? So, like there is that sense of like competition, like you have to stay on top of your game. It's real, guys. It's very real.
I need to be back on a 4G connection. I cannot be on a 3G connection.
3, 2, 1. That boy's a clown. Got it. And you wonder how we pass time when we're away from our family.
That's it.
Goofing off.
It's crazy with Evolve because you have legitimately like the most talented people in this industry in that locker room right now. There's the future of this industry, like some of the greatest talents that are going to emerge in this generation of wrestling.
Oh man. Man, I hate all of y'all. Bring all these cheesecakes, the hot wings, and I just gotta sit here like.
The wings might mess me up. Yeah. But I don't think the cheesecake will.
You can't eat a cheesecake in front of the biggest cat in the locker room. In case you need eat the cheesecake and then show off that you're ripped too. That's rude. Shut up, Fred.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I never wanted to be a wrestler myself. When everybody was cutting wrestling promos and imagining characters for themselves as like a kid or growing up, I was actually like putting together matches. The whole side as far as being in front of a crowd and performing never really appealed to me. I always wanted to be the guy backstage kind of pulling the strings.
If this is what Catch Point is going to stand for, then I quit.
And when you say the Tracy Williams line, make sure, because you're saying that to Tracy, that goes back to Orlando, okay? So you're saying that right to Tracy, okay? Let's get some you to him for Orlando, okay?
What's it like dealing with bookers and dealing with someone who is telling you how to work with your art, like a director?
I get paid to show up and play a role that they write the script for. So whether I disagree or agree, I 9 times out of 10 will just do exactly what they say to the best of my ability. And usually people understand that whoever wrote the show is in control of all the moving parts.
I go by my gut, you know that, okay?
Yeah.
My gut's 100% right.
That's not true.
No, that is 100% true. What is not true...
Your gut said to do another match after Orlando with
No,
me.
that was me thinking. My thinking is 50-50. My gut is 100%. Okay?
Being an experienced wrestler and someone who's been in this, a lot of what you do is manage expectations of the younger wrestlers you're working with and also translate their ideas into the world of wrestling so they work.
That's a very, I don't know, strong ability that I have. I assume that's why Gabe puts me in the ring with younger talent.
Tonight, though, what we're looking at here is actually a rematch. Face nearly taken off by Ethan Page.
Yeah, that's a rookie mistake right there.
I would imagine must feel like a mark of accomplishment that you're trusted again to kind of be that guy.
It is a mark of accomplishment, but it's also frustrating because if you're always the guy that has to cater to the inexperience and essentially make the stars of tomorrow, you'll never be the star of today.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen Austin Theory before, you're about to see this young man fly off of the top rope moonsault, springboarding off of the top rope, Tim. By the way, I like the split crowd reaction here. Austin Theory clearly already endearing himself to the WWN and of all faithful.
Pisses me off, but it's also a pat on the back that I'm good at my job. I don't know, I'm being pulled both ways.
Is that the same shovel?
No, they left it at Laboon.
I mean, but does it look like the same shovel?
No, it was green.
Yeah, then that does us no good. F***ing assholes, man. I told them like 10 times to bring a goddamn shovel.
So there's always unbelievable risk with every wrestling match and every wrestling move, but with these hardcore wrestling matches, is that like a mental leap you have to make to be able to inflict that much pain on someone?
Yeah, I hate it. Like I hated everything about it because you have the guy that's taking the move saying he wants to do it and it's his idea, and then you have your boss who's obviously concerned for our health but also genuinely excited about the reaction that you'll get online or with the crowd. In today's day and age, you're looking for hits, and that's how people thrive and keep their businesses alive.
I try to give these guys a safe working environment, and at the end of the day, these are highly trained professionals. Anything can hurt anybody in that ring. There have been times where I've almost quit because I didn't want to be a part of that aspect. And they're literally risking their lives and serious injury every single match, every single move. If something goes wrong and their concentration isn't there, that can end their career.
This is a matchup that once upon a time I could have never even imagined. Fred Yehi and Kyle O'Reilly here in an Evolve Wrestling ring.
Coming in here tonight, probably one of the more highly anticipated matchups here on the Evolve 83 card.
So tell me about like what kind of opportunity this is for Fred.
It's a huge opportunity, putting the spotlight solely on him. It's also putting him in there with Kyle O'Reilly, world-class guy from all over the place. I have a sense right now that the crowd is ready for him to be in a bigger role. So then you break him away, and if you're right, he's gonna blow up. If you're wrong, you could screw up his career.
Be some very powerful maneuvers on top of it.
Yeah, again, taking him down as he begins that submission here.
Oh. What the hell submission is this? What the is this?
Yeah, Fred's got a lot of unique stuff. It's like some kind of yoga pose with pressure.
He's just twisting the body of O'Reilly into a pretzel and just the way he's holding the leg down.
Coming off the ropes, looking for that kick. Yehi with the reversal, stomp on the foot.
Indeed, the stomp followed by the forearm, moved by Kyle O'Reilly. However, that chop block there, taking him down.
Right to that same knee, figure four leg lock.
And you can see Fred doing everything he can to stop him from rolling through, but instead, O'Reilly able to get just enough momentum to do it.
The kind of wrestling I love, just good, straightforward, two hungry guys, you know. I mean, they're leaving their heart and their soul in the ring right now, both of them. A great wrestling match will build, and it'll build and build, and take the fans on a roller coaster ride. Give them something that they can grab onto, but then surprise them. play with their emotions.
What a stomp to the knee. Yehai, so effective. And that release, German folds up Kyle O'Reilly. This could be a tip. 2. And O'Reilly kicks out. You cannot question the tenacity of a Kyle O'Reilly, nor can you question the reaction we're hearing here for Fred Yehai from the WWN faithful now. Nuked again by Fred Yehai.
Your goal is to make them forget that they're watching a performance.
Mention this a week. He kips up.
Now you hear the crowd is realizing what they're watching. I think this is going to be it right here. If he gets the arm, he's going to try to get the arm out. We get the shot.
And I mean, at some point, he's got no choice. In fact, the brainbuster, we saw it last night.
This put Keith Lee away. Oh, no!
Not enough to go for the arm, or the Armageddon. Yehai's in trouble. He is in the center of the ring.
This is perfect.
Holding on for dear life. Trying to not let that arm free.
But you can see the fingers just slipping away from one another as Yehai trying to hold on desperately, not allowing Kyle O'Reilly to lock in that armbar.
What a match. What a match, Jeff.
Phenomenal, man.
We told you, Kyle O'Reilly coming back to Evolve Wrestling. There's no question. This is a main event star with a victory over Fred Yehai tonight at Evolve 83.
That was beautiful. We got Kyle established as a main event guy for us. It elevated Fred right there, but you're still hungry for the big win by Fred. That was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Sign of respect.
There's nobody sitting down.
And Fred Yehai, he's shown he does not need to be a part of Catchpoint.
Grand Slam out of the park. Thank you. Phenomenal. Phenomenal, man. Be proud of that. Be proud of that. Okay? Thank you.
I truly hope we see a rematch between these two athletes in the future here in the World Wrestling Network.
For someone to pursue their dream in the world of professional wrestling is to knowingly subject themselves to a life that makes the saying blood, sweat, and tears a literal experience. Months of their lives will be spent cramped up in a van, years inside a gym, and hopefully, at the very best, only a few injuries to nurse along the way. It's a solitary endeavor, but what makes wrestling so unique compared to other combat sports is collaboration. They aren't just going out there to physically destroy each other, they work together to build a narrative that aims to surprise, enrage, and gratify. On some level, every wrestling fan knows the winners and losers are predetermined, but that's not the point. What's beautiful is that we as an audience choose to suspend our disbelief in order to become a part of that narrative. It's art, so it doesn't work all the time, but when it does, that's the magic of pro wrestling.